was at the dentist a couple weeks ago, and there was music playing, and it was Christmas music, and not just Christmas music, but country western Christmas music. Now, that's like saying we have dinner for you tonight, it's liver and lima beans, at least for me. Now, I'm not disparaging country western music. There's some that I actually like, but generally you will not find country western on my radio in my truck. You will not find any country western in my collection of music, with the exception of maybe John Prine and Johnny Cash. And as far as Christmas music goes, well, I suffer from earworms, and that means tunes get stuck in my head and rattle around. And unfortunately, this time of year, it's those insipid Christmas songs. You know, the standard ones that have been redone by some top 40 or cover band, so they put their own style on it, and it's in there rattling around, and I don't care who it was or how it was sung. I have been mixed and mingled and jingled and swung enough that I don't need to do it anymore. And unfortunately, this rattling song in my head acts as the ghost of Christmas past in the Christmas Carol, and I keep being reminded of the hard Christmases, the hard seasons leading up to Christmas, those times when things were not the best. I'm not saying I've had some really wonderful Christmases, but unfortunately, through Advent, it seems like what I remember are the heartaches, the disappointment. You remember the first Christmas where what you got were clothes? That was it? And I realize that's a minor thing, but then there are those Christmases that when I was working in construction, because of a job schedule or a fiscal year coming to an end, we were working 10, 12-hour days, 7 days a week, and we got Christmas off. And then we got New Year's off. And that's all I remember. Maybe it's now that because my children have grown and my grandchildren are living scattered around the country and I don't get to see them at Christmas, our house is emptier. And while I am thankful for my partner and what she brings and the joy she brings, I really do not find a lot of Christmas spirit. And then there are those of us who are maybe mourning someone who they're not going to get to visit again in this life. Someone who's moved on. And their place is now empty. And it gets really hard to be joyous at this time of year. And it's easy to fall prey to cynicism. It's easy to fall prey to look at all those foolish people celebrating something they don't even understand. Look at all that waste that's going on in buying presents you can't afford for children who don't appreciate them, that are probably just going to end up being in the trash several months after all the festivities. But the truth is, this season of anticipation belongs to us. Us who maybe want to just cry out, bah humbug, for all of this. Because when you study the Bible, particularly the Old Testament, there were periods in the times of God's people where they were crying out to God because of their situation. The ancient Hebrews, when they were in Egypt, were crying out to God for deliverance from their slavery. And then the ancient Israelites, as they are captured and they're taken away and they're living as foreigners in Babylon, are crying out for deliverance from their separation from their homeland. And at the time of the birth of Jesus, the land is under occupation by a domineering government. And the officials that should be standing up for them, and taking charge of pointing out how important it is to remember whose they are and who they are, have capitulated to the Romans so they can continue just at least to do business as usual. And the people are walking in a great darkness, and they don't have hope. And every little rebellion seems to be squashed down, and more people get put on the cross to remind the people that this is what happens when you stand up to Rome. And in the midst of this occupation, God comes to us. God comes to us, not as a warrior vanquishing the domineering empire. God comes to us as a little baby. Meaning we have to care for this. In this time where we're feeling down and depressed, and we're wondering if our discouragement is more about our entitlement, or is it truly about our grief? God comes to us. I remember one particular Christmas. It had been a rough season of Christmas. I was exceptionally busy, and things had not been going well on the home front nor the work front. And after the marathon of church, which meant at that point we were doing 3 services, and because I sang in the choir, I was there at 4 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and 11 o'clock. And when we finally get home and the kids get to bed, I sat and I plugged in the Christmas tree with no other lights. And I sat and I recognized that, hey, people were much more soft than I was in this time. And not only that, I really was blessed in so many different ways. And yeah, it had been a rough year, and there had been a lot of disappointments. But because God came to us as a baby, in very mean circumstances, to grow up as a tradesman child, there is hope for me, and there is light in the world. And maybe it's small, but it can be nurtured. That is God with us.